some movies I know I gotta go see in the theater. Like, I wasn't able to go see In the Heights that came out that last weekend. But religious movies starring Tobin Bell, hell yeah.
Don't tell me this. I missed it.
He wasn't there. He wasn't there. I went to go see it. It was also premium prices too. So we've got the app on our phone with all the rewards and everything. But this one was a Fathom event. So no, you got to pay regular ticket prices for. Again, that's fine. Faith-based movie with Jigsaw.
Damn it!
Yes! You weren't able to make it and texted me about traffic, and there was some accident on the highway.
Yeah, accident on the highway, stuck in traffic, and then I ran out of gas.
You just stick your head out the window and be like, scoop that man off the highway, I gotta get to a movie. I'm gonna feel really bad if someone died, by the way.
They didn't, and here's how I know.
You caused it, didn't you? No. When I didn't hear from you for a while, I was like, was he in the accident? I'll find out about that later. The movie's still on.
So these poor people, okay, so here's how I know. Where I ran out of gas and pulled over, that's where they towed all the cars involved in the accident.
Oh, shit.
So these poor people. Now, good news is that everybody seemed like they were fine. The cars were just in, like, minimal damage and everything. And here's, but, you know, they're still, like, having the worst day possible, you know, because they're, you know, insurance is about to go up. They're probably going to have to file a lawsuit and all this other stuff. And here's my ass rolling up without a gas being like, cars, am I right?
Please tell me you did that.
I did. But...
You know what? Honestly, because since this was a Fathom event, there weren't trailers in front of it.
Oh, wow.
But for about 15 minutes or so, I was like, well, he's still got some time because it's a Fathom event, so the movie didn't start. Which is like 9 times out of 10 that I go to a Fathom event, something is wrong with the projector or something.
Oh.
So it was just like a black screen for a while. There was only 2 other people in there. One was this old lady sitting in the way back. I'm like, well, I'm not going to wait for her to get up and be like, hey, the movie's not starting. So I did, went back in and sat down, and whenever this happens at one of those screenings, it's like it starts, but it starts at... like this was like 7:17. The movie was supposed to start at 7, so it would start like at 17 minutes into the movie. Then they got to rewind the movie, and it was funny because I could hear the couple behind me going like, "Wait a minute, are they just streaming this movie? I'm paying top dollar prices at a theater to watch them streaming something." So this movie is written, directed by, and co-starring a guy named Jason Mack. This was the movie that I mentioned last week when at the end of it I said there's a couple of things coming out next weekend. One of them I'm pretty sure is a religious movie. It doesn't say, but I've developed a sixth sense for this kind of thing, especially after a couple of movies that I saw last year and movies I've seen the past 10 years. But going, yeah, it is. Okay. It is one. But when I was talking to you on the phone earlier, you go, or like 15 minutes ago, you're like, oh, damn it. Like, I wanted to go see this. I wanted something to, like, laugh at or something.
Because I've had a bad day.
The movie's actually pretty good. Like it is. It's not... When I read the synopsis, I was like, this sounds like it's like a perfectly normal drama, which has tricked me before, because like last year when I went to go see like Tulsa and My Brother's Crossing and things like that, where I'm like, well, that sounds like a perfectly normal movie. Then you go in and it's like batshit insane. This wasn't that. It's a pretty simple story about Tobin Bell. It's this old man who's living out by this lake in this cabin. Dude comes in who has just robbed a warehouse and needs a place to hide out. So
he says, I want to play a little game.
Dude, okay. So Tobin Bell is great in this movie, by the way. He's fantastic. Both of them are. Both of them are really good in this movie. Tobin Bell's fantastic in this, but there is still that thought in your head where it's like, this is like if Jigsaw faked his own death, went into retirement on a cabin, but a troubled guy comes in who normally he would like teach him a lesson by, I don't know, decapitating him. And But it's like, shit, I'm in retirement. I don't have my tools with me. So I guess I gotta just teach him about scripture or something. I hope that this starts happening now. Like we see Robert Englund in a movie like this, where instead, like, a person's troubled, but instead he just gives the person some of those like hypnotism tapes that they listen to in their sleep that helps them better their lives or something. Like after all of those Saw movies where Jigsaw, I mean, there was a couple people he helped, but then they'd go on to also become serial killers. So it's bizarre seeing him being put in a similar situation where he doesn't just put someone in a bone cracking machine and be like, see, did you learn your lesson? Oh, you're dead. Oops. But the casting was pretty cool in that regard, especially if you've seen all the Saw movies. What I love about that is if you look at all the movies that are playing in this theater, and you would be like, you'd ask the person, hey, which of these movies has Tobin Bell in it? They'd go, oh, well, Spiral. No, dude. The religious movie. Jigsaw finds Jesus. Well, his picture.
I forgot Spiral is still in here.
Yeah, his picture is in Spiral.
Oh my god!
Like, the movie is mainly the two guys in this cabin, kind of becoming friends and fishing and shooting the shit. They have good chemistry with each other. Plus, you get to see Tobin Bell do a bunch of grumpy old man shit. Like,
didn't he pretty much do that in the third Saw movie?
Yes, but in this one, everyone keeps their limbs and their
Okay.
feet. And you don't have to sit there through, like, most of the sequels going, where'd Dr. Gordon go? No, it is. So the guy has him at gunpoint early on in the movie, but then Tobin Bell's like, I ain't sleeping on the floor anymore. And he's like, I'm gonna go sleep in my bed. And the guy's like, well, if you try leaving, I'm gonna shoot you. Tobin Bell's just like, whatever. And then the next morning they're fishing, and the guy tries pulling a rifle on him, but it's not loaded. And Tobin Bell's already got his shotgun because he's out, like, hunting birds.
Nice.
And the guy doesn't have it loaded. Tobin Bell points it at him and goes like, I went through actual war, son. Not these drone video games you youngsters play. It's like watching a faith-based Clint Eastwood movie.
Yeah.
Because halfway through, hired goons show up that are in no way related to the guy who robbed the warehouse. It's that there's this millionaire, I guess, or some businessman who wants Tobin Bell's land to, like, build a parking lot in the middle of nowhere. Like, he wants to, and so these 3 hired goons keep showing up about halfway into the movie, where I'm like, I hope to God this turns into, like, a religious movie version of Straw Dogs. Like a 70s revenge movie, like
Yes.
Walking Tall or something,
Yes.
with Tobin Bell and the Bible. So the guy that Jason Mack plays comes out. He scares the goons away. He says to Tobin Bell, he's like, what's the deal with those hired goons? And he actually says hired goons. He's like, what's the deal with those hired goons? And Tobin Bell's like, who, what hired goons? He's like, those guys who just left. And he's like, oh, them? They're just a pain in my ass. At one point, they call him Clint Eastwood. At one point, it's like, what's this Clint Eastwood shit? Or something like that. It's definitely, you can tell it's a very personal film. Like, you can tell that he made this movie in memory of his dad, because there's a lot of dad stuff in the movie, where the young guy in the movie, his dad abandoned him and he never knew his father, and Tobin Bell is living in grief that he never really knew his son. And a much lazier movie would have thrown in some twist like, oh shit, is he his dad this whole time?
Right, yeah.
I was half expecting that. I was like, don't do that movie, please. And it didn't.
Okay, good.
It didn't, so I was glad. So they're both kind of using each other to work through their own shit, with the kid and his dad issues, and Tobin Bell with missing out on raising his son. And they both do a good job. Their chemistry's good. The direction was solid in the movie. It's a simple movie. It mostly takes place in one location. The guy did a pretty good job at that, and the movie knows to keep it relatively short. It's only like a 90-minute movie. It does jump into, like, tearjerker mode in, like, about the last 10 minutes. And But again, the acting was good when it happened.
Yeah.
But it is this kind of thing where it's like, well, we got to get the audience crying here in the last 10 minutes, and they do that. But I'll say that the acting is still really good.
Did you cry?
No. No, because, well, I don't want to spoil. I don't want to spoil what happens, but it was reminding me when. All right. Well, I'll mention this. When you see like Tobin Bell in like a hospital bed, again, it's hard not to think of Jigsaw when this happens. Right. Like the last time I saw him in a hospital bed, he got like his throat slit with, with like a buzzsaw.
Yeah.
And this one, he's just like, hand me my Bible. I'm like, this is going in a way different direction. And I'm really glad there's a less body count here. It'd take a drastic turn.
He goes, hand me my Bible. And he opens it up and it's like carved out with like a key, and he goes, behind your eye.
Or he's just gotten lazy and there's just a mouse trap inside of it. Ow! It could have been worse. Also, it does this thing that I don't think did you ever see the movie War Room?
No.
War Room was insane, man. You should see that movie. Yeah. So War Room has this whole plot, like in the last part of the movie, where the main character he works for a pharmaceutical company, I think, and he stole a bunch of medication so he could try to sell it on the black market. But then he has this redemption arc, and he brings all of the medicine back to the company, and they're like, well, you've learned your lesson, you're fine, go on, get out of here.
What?
In War Room? Yeah, and that's only like the 5th craziest thing that happens in that movie. Like his boss showed up at his house, was like, I was walking through the neighborhood like all night thinking about what you did and whether or not I should prosecute you, and I've decided not to. Go on back inside. This movie does something similar where the guy brings back the money that he stole, that's covered in blood, by the way. He brings back the money that he stole back to the warehouse. Similar thing kind of happens when the guy's just kind of like, well...
Oh, get out of here, you scamp!
Oh, he's about ready to pick up the phone, and he's like, go on, get out of here.
Get out of here.
It's not as funny as when War Room did it, but it still brought me... I was kind of laughing a little because it was reminding me when a much crazier film did that.
Right.
So... Yeah, you didn't miss anything like laughably bad or anything bad, really. It's not a bad movie. It's a fairly decent film.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's... I mean, yeah, I said at the beginning of this, like, hell yeah, I'm going to the theater to see this. But generally speaking, I don't know if you necessarily need to pay like Fathom price tickets to go see this movie in the theater.
What is Fathom prices?
Oh, Fathom events, you know, those previews that we get before the movies where it's like this.
Oh no, I'm not asking what is a Fathom event.
Okay.
I'm asking what are the prices.
Oh, like you. Sometimes it depends on the movie. In this particular case, they're a few dollars higher than what a normal ticket price is.
Okay.
I don't know if that varies from movie to movie, but I've noticed that before, where sometimes they're like even a little bit higher than RPX tickets. So I don't know if you necessarily need to do that for this movie. You'd probably get just as much out of it watching it on TV. But there is an audience for this kind of movie that likes going out to the theater to see these faith-based films. And if you're in that audience, you like going out to go see that, this is a good one to go see. I've seen plenty over the years, and you guys know this, I've seen plenty over the years that are not good. And this one, now, if you're the audience for it and you want to go out and see something like this, I feel that you'll leave and get your money's worth. The kind of movie it is, and for the audience that would go see it, I'd give it a B. Like, yeah, it's not a great movie. It's flawed. Yeah, it's one of these kind of movies. It's one of the better ones I've seen in a while. Yeah, it's just a nice little movie, really. That's cool. Like, again, watching it on a double feature with Saw, it'll blow your mind.
Done.
Oh shit, I think next week is F9, son.
Oh shit, son.
Yeah.
I better be on time for that one. I'm gonna set a reminder. I can't be late anymore. This is ridiculous. This is getting ridiculous.
There was another movie playing this weekend too that I never heard of. I think it's a sports movie. It's like 12 Mighty Orphans or something like that. I saw that title and was like, I hope that's a murder mystery. No, it's like a football movie. I think it's got Luke Wilson in it. I don't know if I have time to go see that. But it was between this and that movie. When I saw these last week, I was like, Father's Legacy, 12 Mighty Orphans. What?
Tell you what, you want me to go see it? Come back and tell you about it?
Oh, let's just kill time here in the car for a couple hours. No, there's
no. I don't mean like right now. I mean like tomorrow or something like that.
Oh no. I looked. I was like, which movies of these do I go see? Because they were both only playing at 7:00. Which of these movies I go see? What? Jigsaw, religious movie. I think religious movie. Yeah, religious movie. Oh, that's the one I'm going to see. Football movie can wait. Football movie can wait. In that I probably won't go see it. All right, we'll see you next week with F9. Take care.
Your dad messed up leaving you behind.
You ever wonder if your kid would show up here?
I think about what he'd say, and what I'd say to him. That's why I wrote that letter. I ain't too good with words.
That's why you won't give the place up.
My wife loved this place. We talked about raising our kids here,